When I heard this was going to be recorded, we thought we better put a disclaimer in on this. I work for the Department of Agriculture and Food. I'm not authorized to give any information that has not been approved by the PIO, so therefore anything I say might not be what the department wants me to say, but on the other hand, if anything is of value, then it's definitely came from the department. So just, just to make sure that you're in a good spot. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, Senate Bill 76, and where does that come within the department? This is the first time the Department of Ag or Agriculture has really been involved with county planning, and we think that's very important. How come it didn't move up here? Okay, sorry about that. Things aren't moving here when they move there. But we want to assist counties in any way to help commissioners, council members, depending on how the county's set up, and their planning commissions to tie water and land planning together. Okay, we're ready again. Okay, we're going to integrate water into land planning. Like I said, this is the first time the Department of Ag or Agriculture has really been involved in this. Agriculture holds, depending on whom you talk to and which county you're in, 70 to 80% of the water is diverted for agriculture. If you're going to have water planning and you're going to bring it into land planning and you want to do a water budget, if you don't involve agriculture with water, it's hard to come up with a good budget. So. Oh, it's working, good. The 76 also says that you need to protecting open space and agriculture by identifying land parcels which qualify for agricultural protection areas and agricultural easements. We'll talk about the easement process that the department has a little further down. The Department of Ag has quite a few programs that support both agriculture and communities, and Utah's own just different programs that promote agriculture in the state. And we want communities to work with irrigation canal companies to help protect the integrity of those ditches and so forth. So this is a nutshell of what is under the Department of Ag in Senate Bill 76. Ours only deals with counties, but we would love to be involved with communities and their planning, because agriculture, it's just as a community annex land and stuff, things get lost between the county and the city. So we think it's important that we could be involved, but it's not mandatory. And I thought we'd start out with little agricultural statistics. This graph just came out in February. It's 2022 statistics. You can see for the last 20 years where number of farmers are and where land population is. I mean, acres and land. And just to go on with the statistics, there is less than 1% of Utah's population that is involved in agriculture. So 1% of the population produces the food for the state of Utah, but we don't produce all of it. We do know that. The total value of that production on the farm basis is $2.3 billion, which is not a very big amount when you look at the state's budget, but you got to realize that $2.3 billion is brand new dollars into the state's economy. I mean, I work for the state of Utah. I just turn over dollars. Most of us here turn over dollars. We're not generating new income, but agriculture is generating new income, and they grow it out of the ground on our natural resource every year. And I think that's a big, important thing that we in ag don't comment about enough. And here's some more statistics. We provide 475,000 plus jobs. I lost some digit in there. So anyway, our wages is 2.28 billion, excuse me, taxes, exports, and output. When you put that into the state's budget, you know, that 22.8 billion, that is a big impact on the state's economy. And as that chart that I showed you before, that graph, this is the first time in 20 years that we've had a reduction in agricultural producers in the state of Utah. I mean, you saw in that graph, it continued to go up, but this last few years it went down. The other thing is we lost 1.2 million acres of farm ground in the last 20 years, and that is approximately the size of Cache or Wasatch County that has been removed from agriculture. I bring that up because growth is important. Agriculture, I think, is very important. I don't know, I mean, the question that I would ask anybody in here in your community is there a place for agriculture in your community? And if so, where is it and what can we do to save it? Here are some of the benefits that we get from agriculture. You know, there's one of these that says agriculture is a foundation of civilization, and that's true. Everybody in here can tie their roots back to agriculture. Hopefully most of you is only 2 generations, but we're getting younger people, and it's, you know, because there's only 1% of us, it is harder to connect to agriculture. But you got a heritage, food security. They did Envision Utah did a census in a survey in 2014. 98% of the respondents said agriculture and food security was important to them and the state of Utah. Open space. Open space is wonderful, but if you get agriculture open space, it's maintained, it's productive, you don't have a weed issue as much as you do other, and open space in agriculture provides great habitat for wildlife. I mean, if it wasn't for agriculture production in the state of Utah, our wildlife would be a lot less than what we have because they provide critical nesting habits, habitat, and so forth. It also increases property value. Anybody that's got land with open space around it, their property value generally is more valuable. Not all the time, but you know, mostly. And there's some pretty junky farms out there, we'll be honest, but there's some pretty junky yards too. So, you know, generally, interesting thing about agriculture and farm ground and communities, I mean, you get in larger communities, you're getting to where the land is more valuable. It's hard to decide whether you really want to keep that ground as open space into agriculture. We need that for community gardens, urban agriculture. We talked about high density housing. You know, that's a problem, but it's something we're going to have. And if you have an opportunity in your community or in your county to start to look at and preserve agriculture so that you can have a place for people to go out and raise community gardens, high density housing people or low income people to go raise food, that's going to be an asset to your community. Now, on the easement program at the Department of Agriculture, just a little history, and we're not going to read through this, but the Lee Ray McAllister Fund got transferred to the Department of Agriculture a couple of years ago, and then they renamed it a year ago, and we have other easement programs at the department, but this is the kind of the one that everybody talks about. And in the last bill, HB 371, 2023, that bill also took 20% of the Greenbelt rollback taxes, and that's supposed to be put into preserving agriculture and open space. And I know counties are trying to decide how to do that, where it goes. We want to be involved in that. We've got a person that runs the easement program, and he's more than willing to help, and we've got assets so that if you want to identify land that needs to being preserved or put into easements, let us know, and we'll try to help find other resources and funding. Now, those are some of the programs the Department of Agriculture has. We got the water optimization program. I think everybody's probably heard of that. And this bill encourages counties and everybody to use this program so that you can help meet the regional conservation goals in the state water plan. And we got the Agriculture Voluntary Incentive Program, which is the Ag VIP. That's a nutrient management program, a water quality program and it's for any agricultural producers. So if you've got some small farms in your area, or you've got people that look like you're concerned about their quality and what they're doing with their nutrients and everything, you can call the department. We can get involved and help get them into this program so that they have a nutrient management plan. We got the Agricultural Resource Development Loan. That's what we call our ARDL program. That's a low interest loan for agricultural producers for basically natural resource and water quality concerns. Grazing Improvement Program, the GIP program, that's for rangeland, livestock grazing. They have a grant program. Invasive Species Mitigation Program, the ISM program, that's for your weeds. That helps control the Phragmites that's on Utah Lake and Great Salt Lake. Part of the funding is used for those type of projects. And we talked about Lee Ray McAllister. Pollinator program. Somebody asked about native plants. We do use a lot of native species in the pollinator program, trying to encourage those and that program is for small production. I mean, if you're a homeowner and you've got a plot of ground that you would like to plant pollinator plants in, we would be more than willing to have you apply and plant. We'd love to have that. I mean, it's designed for small acreage. Soil health, I think everybody's probably heard little soil health and the importance that is on climate and everything else. Specialty crop grant, that's for vegetable and fruit trees and those type of producers and their marketing, which is something that works into communities and counties. Utah Food Security Program is a fairly new program that helps expand processing plants so that there's more locally grown food and processed and everything. I mean, in COVID, everybody and their dog wanted food, and they wanted to know where it came from. And our small processing plants for livestock and stuff could not keep up. I mean, I know the one in my community, they were booking animals for 2 years. Now they only book them for 3 months, and they're still overbooked. So there's a need for that expansion. And then our Utah-owned program to advertise and promote things that are growing in the state of Utah. And the last part of this is irrigation companies. This is the language there's in the legislation. Counties shall notify an irrigation or canal company located in the county so that the irrigation or canal company can be involved in the protection and integrity of the irrigation or canal company's delivery system. That is very important. And it's important to communities that you engage those canal companies, irrigation companies, because it's not only for the integrity of the canal so that the irrigation water stays where it's put, but it's also a human health issue that we need to be very cautious of, because for some reason, little people love to play in water. I've got a grandson that lives in Florida, and it rains in Florida a little bit. They got a bar pit. He was probably 4 years old. Every time it rained, he'd go out and get in the water. Well, he went out in the water one day, and the bar pit was full. He got stuck in the bottom, and luckily his mother saw him and went and drug him out before he drowned. But, we just need to be cautious of our irrigation. That's pretty well all I have. I think, like I said, there's an opportunity here to realize that agriculture has a place. I feel like there's been quite a bit of conflict between agriculture and development, and I think there's a mistake on that. Just a comparison of when you come from your interpretation of something. I went to Florida to visit my son and his wife. They had a new baby, and my granddaughter that's 4 years old, her mother instructed her to go take a shower. And she goes, She goes, Grandma, how does Grandpa shower? And Grandma goes, what do you mean? Well, he has no hair, because Mom always said, you got to go shower and wash your hair. Well, Grandpa has no hair, so it doesn't fit. But that's an interpretation, and we need to be careful and make sure, because there's been good information on how to interact and work with conflict. So thank you very much.
All right. Perfect. Now we're switching there, but not here. Okay. All right. Like Mike said, my name is Dixon Eakins. I'm the Public Water System Planner for the Division of Drinking Water. Hopefully by now, Senate Bill 110 was passed in the 2022 session, and Senate Bill 76 was passed in the 2023 session. So if you haven't started working on your general plans, hopefully you've at least thought about them, thought about the new element. A word of reminder, the new element is due December 31st of 2025. And it's required by all counties. So if you're from a county, you must do it. All municipalities except cities of the fifth class and towns. Now, if you are a city of the fifth class and town, it's never a bad idea to incorporate water into your planning. It's helpful for everybody. There's a few drinking water aspects that we at the division would like to see in your general plans, because something that inhibits growth and development and expansion and improvement of your municipalities is a lack of drinking water. So these are the big four. This is in Senate Bill 110. So in Senate Bill 110, that spells out what they want to see in your general plan. In your water use and conservation element, this is going to be the meat and potatoes. This is what you're going to want to incorporate. Let me get it pulled up in here. All right, so the first one, the effect of permitted development on water demand and water infrastructure. And Rick will go a little bit more into detail on these. But number two, methods of reducing water demand and per capita water use for existing development, methods of reducing water demand and per capita water use for future development. And this last one is very important, modifications that can be made to a local government's operations to reduce and eliminate wasteful water practices. The whole point of this element is to get water involved in the conversation and then to encourage you to act on that, whether that's through ordinance or other means. In Senate Bill 76, that's what the bill that looped in Department of Ag and the Division of Drinking Water, that you need from the drinking water standpoint, you need to consult with, if you're a county, it's mandated that you consult with any of the community water systems in the unincorporated areas of your county. Those that the municipalities are going to do this themselves, but you need to consult with those water systems. It's not required to consult with, you may have cities of the fifth class, you may have towns. They're going to be missed by this. They're not going to do their own element, and you don't have to include them in your element. But if you want a comprehensive plan that takes into account all of your county's water needs, it may be wise for you to include them as well. If you're a municipality, this is going to be a lot easier. You're just going to walk down the hall to your public works or your water superintendent, whoever that may be, and have these discussions there. So anytime I'm talking about consulting with your water systems, I mean counties, but if you are a municipality, just interpret that as your water department. All right, if you are a municipality, the best place to start is your water conservation plan. All municipalities that are required to adopt this general plan element have a water conservation plan on file. But a word of warning, a few questions that we've been asked just right off the bat is, well, can we just say, for water conservation goals, see page 4 of our water conservation plan? No. Even worse would be, can we just say for water conservation and use general plan element, see water conservation plan? No, we can't do that. The reason being, water conservation plans are a really great start, and they're a really great asset to get the bones. What you see in there is really, from at least a drinking water perspective, a lot of what we want to see in your plan. So if you're a county, look up the biggest city in your county. They'll probably have a water conservation plan on file. They're a really great resource because they're due every 5 years, and so they've got a little bit of a shorter planning horizon. Your general plan needs to have a longer vision, a longer planning horizon. The general plan element is really trying to bind, when we talk about land use planning and we talk about the future of our county or our municipality, we want water to be involved in that conversation and make it a lot more effective. The first component to a really good general plan element from a drinking water perspective is a system overview. What's going on in your county? That's going to include identifying your source and storage facilities, along with their storage and production capacities, as well as it could be key distribution assets. On screen here are a few examples of things that other people have done. If your examples are on here, kudos. I hope you're not offended, but they were really good examples, so I stole them. Most of these were stolen from water conservation plans, so hence it's a great idea to look at them. This top one up here is a Cache Valley example. It's from Hyde Park City Water System, but you can see they encapsulate all the service areas of the different water systems around there. So if you're Cache County and you're doing your water plan, that's a great thing to do. You don't have to map it. Some people like to do that. One thing that is critical to do, this is a source capacity. This is tank capacity. You can see here that they've just highlighted their wells and their capacity, any tanks that they have, and their capacities as well. It's important to know that information. It's going to play a key role going forward. Here are a few more examples. These are like the most detailed examples I could find in anybody's plans. They're really well done. Your county might not need to get this detailed. This map right here is from Grainge Hunter Improvement District. They go so far as to map out every water line and its size. Do I think everybody needs to do that? No, but again, this water plan is, you take what you make of it. If you want a really good plan that you're going to be able to reference for the next 20 years and get your vision, make it really good. If you just want to check a box, just check a box. And the same things are depicted up here. The next thing that we're going to want to get to is an evaluation of your current usage and consumption trends. When do you use the most? What's your peak daily demand? Once you understand your current usage, and including how the water is being used, like I think a different presentation earlier talked about what percentage of the water is being used outside. That's an important statistic to know. Once you understand your current usage, you can begin to factor in anticipated population growth, as well as any projected development and land use change. The way you use land is going to impact how much water you need in the future, as well as population. If your county is going to grow by 10,000 people, and they're going to be 10,000 single-family homes on quarter-acre lots, that's going to use a different amount of water than 10,000 people in high-density housing or multifamily units. So you need to not only know how much you're growing, but how you're growing. And this is what Harriman City has done. They just talk about, they go over just their water system residential population, and they have their projected growth. That takes us to forecasting. So one thing that, as I've reviewed general plans and talked to different planners, one thing that's really well covered in all plans is population forecasting. Everybody wants to know how much bigger their county is going to be, because, I mean, probably that's your citizens' number one concern is how much is development encroaching on their property. But we're going to need to tie in available water supplies. Is your current water supply and sources and storage facilities and distribution assets, are they going to be enough to serve that increase in population? Or when will that cease to be enough? If we look at this past graph, when on the graph is our current water supply is going to run out and not be enough? This figure's from Alpine City, and as you can see, this blue chart is their reliable supply, and their orange is their estimated use. So going into the future, they feel pretty confident that they're going to grow in a way that they're going to have plenty of water. Your graph may look very different, and if your graph, that orange bar starts to get right up next to the top of that blue bar, you're going to want to explore future source development, storage development, whatever that may be, to increase your production and your water supply. As well as, one thing to note, water supply diversification. You know, if you, and we'll talk about this a little later on, but if you lose a source, if a well runs dry, or even a temporary setback, if a pump goes out, are you still going to be able to have the water necessary to serve your residents? All right, one thing that we recommend, it's not mandated, but one thing we recommend including in your general plans is strategies to mitigate lost water. I believe heavily that good decisions are driven by good data and good information, and if we don't know where our water is going, if it's unaccounted for, we call that lost, and we can't make good decisions with that water. This is a conservancy district, so they're obviously dealing with far more astronomical numbers than we'll be dealing with. But here you can see they're losing 2.4% of their water to who knows where. Include strategies for that in your plan. A lot of strategies that people have, or that systems and municipalities have done, is replacing meters in a timely manner when that water may be getting used but it's not getting recorded, having adequate personnel on hand to repair leaks in a timely manner. So that's kind of what we want to see. Now, how to get the ball rolling. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to establish contact and determine the best contact for future meetings. If you don't know, especially if you're a county, there's a lot of water systems out there. If you're a county and you don't know all of your water systems, get to know them. Of course, I'm available. We have contact information for your water systems. More than happy to help you get in contact with them. But get in contact with them, set up a meeting. That meeting, you're going to need to talk about all of the things we've just talked about. All of their current usage, their sources, any of their asset management plans. The slide right here. You want to talk about their water supply planning, drinking water sources, storage capacity, distribution planning, master plans, infrastructure asset management or replacement plans, impact fee facility plans. If you're planning as a county to grow by 10,000 people and your water system isn't prepared for that, that's not even a part of their plan, they don't know that's coming, then those two plans are going to be at odds. So it's best to get those synced up. Then you're going to take all that information and you're going to develop your water use and conservation element. After that, you're going to go back to the water system and you're going to solicit their feedback. And you should have a pretty good idea of what they're going to say from your initial meeting, but get their feedback, see how that's going to incorporate into their plans, and then work with them to implement that feedback into your general plan. And once you've implemented that feedback, then you're ready to adopt your new general plan. There we go. A few questions to guide your meeting, some things that you should just think about, and we have another document that I'm happy to share that has another dozen of these questions. But these are kind of the hot topics. How much development can you support with your current water supplies? Where in that population growth can we stop supporting that? Does the water utility have any water supply availability projections? How's your aquifer doing? How's your pump doing? Is it necessary to develop new water sources to sustain upcoming development? How much water does your community currently use? How diverse is your water supply? If a source failed, could you meet community needs? Do you have plans to ensure that proposed development does not adversely affect water supplies? I think that is a big one that you need to include in your general plan element. Thank you guys very much. Take note of my contact information. I'm always around. I know there's a lot of water systems, especially on the county level. It's a big lift for the county to get with all of their unincorporated community water systems, and even their cities and towns if they want to make it a super comprehensive plan. It's a big lift. I'm happy to walk you through it. I'm happy to make sure you get all that information in your initial meeting so that you can reduce back and forth. But thank you very much.
Tech guys, you on standby?
Don't touch the screen.
Don't touch the screen. Oh, yeah. We're toast. And it didn't switch it on the screen.
Don't touch the screen because I don't mess it up.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's not been transferring on the screen, but it's been.
All right. I apologize. Looks like I'm going to be reading or trying to go off of my slide. Rick Webster, Utah Division of Water Resources. The mission statement of Water Resources: to plan, conserve, develop, and protect Utah's water resources. My wife recently did one of those genetics tests. She had some questions in her heritage. Sent it in, came back, found out she's 20% Scottish. Total surprise. So what do we get? We get a lot of Scottish word of the day. Then she went to word of the week. I'm like, thank you for not inundating me every day. And she said, what do you think about this word? Foutery. I'm like, can you say that in a Scottish accent? She said, no. But what amazed me was that a foutery is a task or tool that's complicated and awkward to do or to use. I couldn't describe putting water into a general plan any better. So why do we integrate? We've had some great presentations today on integrating water in the general plan, and Jay and Dixon both did a fantastic job, so I'll actually be able to go through my slides quickly since they gave half my presentations. Integrating water into land use planning. I've been in the water world for 20 plus years. Learned how to speak that language just fine. Was assigned to come into the planning world, had to learn a new language. So far, we keep getting invited places, so I guess we're doing all right. Water and planning have historically been siloed. My experience is that the planners plan and then say, hey, we're planning, get the water over here. And that's what the water guy, that's from their perspective, that's their story, that's what they told me. Now, when we integrate water into planning, we can empower our community to grow how we want it to grow. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, but when you bring both groups together, you can plan more completely. Integrating water also will lead to, hopefully, resiliency and protection from ongoing droughts. Okay, you heard the who from Senate Bill 76, Senate Bill 110. This is the why. Okay, and I don't want to freak anybody out, but this is the reality of it. Current water demands right here. Projected water supplies up here, not too bad. By 2060, our demand outpaces our water supply. Now, projected water supply by 2060, that's hopefully some projects that we've got going on, but the bar is still above. How do we bridge that gap? That's through water conservation. Okay, that's on changing our attitudes about our yards. Turf doesn't belong everywhere. Does it belong some places? Absolutely. Does it belong everywhere? No. I got this from the regional conservation goals. We'll talk about that in a minute. A balance of water development and water conservation pursued in parallel will be necessary to meet the water needs of our rapidly growing state. Gone through, Dixon did a great job surmising Senate Bill 11076, the who and the when. Now, a bit on the language. Dixon was right. Please do not reference a line in your water conservation plan. This is what the legislation says. So you can go read this for yourself, right over here. In Utah Code 109A403, general plan preparation, at minimum, the proposed general plan shall be accompanied by maps, charts, and a descriptive and explanatory manner, and shall include recommendations. And I like that because that means that your general plans are going to become living documents. Now, when you draft the element, there are 5 areas. You've got the 4 areas that you're supposed to address, a lot of people you're supposed to talk to, some things you're supposed to consider after you talk to the people, some reviewing of your own ordinances, and then the big one that we were surprised by were the recommendations included within your plan. So it's not about finding deficiencies, it's about planning on how to meet those future needs. All right, the big 4, we talked about it. Okay, the effect of your permitted development patterns or on development, oh my goodness, that's terrible. The effect of permitted development or patterns of development on water demand and water infrastructure. I apologize, I don't have my glasses on. Okay, we have here 1-acre lots. We have 3 distinct different types of housing. We have the single-family home on a 1/4 acre. We have an 18 unit townhome, and we have a 60-unit apartment building. Down at the bottom, we have these numbers were taken from the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District service area. This is an idea of the effect or the hydrologic cost of development in that area. So if you're going to have 4 family homes on an acre, it's going to take you 1 million gallons for that acre for a year, okay? Now, if you do all the math, take the time out of it, that's 236 gallons per person per day. Now, townhomes, it's a lot less, or it's more. The outdoor is less because there's less landscaped property. It goes the same with apartments. So we've heard the excuse, well, not the excuse, I've heard a lot of people talking, hey, if you put in apartments, you use less water. Well, per person per day, sure, but my 60 apartments is over double the amount of water that the 4 single-family homes. So you need to decide where and how you grow. It matters, but there's a cost to it. Okay, so when we were developing this presentation, I used to just give the 4 big ones. I thought it would be a little more helpful to give you some examples. So to reduce the demand for future development's easy because they're not here and you're not going to have them complaining to you yet, right? So it's the low-hanging fruit. So no lawn and parking strips, and these are just ideas. Ironically, these ideas are the same ideas that will get your community or county eligible for some lawn replacement rebates. I'm just saying. So no more than 50% of the front and side yard landscape is turf on new development. In commercial, industrial, institutional, multifamily, lawn areas do not exceed 20% outside of the recreation areas. And then another idea is a smaller lot size. For the current residents, this is a little more interesting. It's more carrot, less stick, where the new residents don't know what they're missing. So we have several promotions on the Utah Water Savers that will help them with toilet rebates, toilet replacement, smart controller rebates, conservation pricing, always a popular topic. Fixture conversion, leak repair, water-wise landscaping, and water conservation education. I've heard from a lot of communities, our citizens just aren't behind it. They don't support it, they're not with us. You need to up your education, your outreach, your communication with those wonderful, frustrating people. Okay, and the last one of the big four, which is my favorite, because we've struggled with this on a state level, that's what we actually have personal experience with this, is what opportunities do you have to modify your operations that waste water? On the state level, we've had legislation passed about water-wise landscaping and water efficiencies on state parks and state-owned properties. We actually it was a big fight to get people on board, but we did it. When there's a retrofit area, can you install AMI metering? You can update inefficient plumbing and smart controllers for irrigation. You can develop a policy for landscaping arterial or major collector streets. Check for issues such as mainline breaks, theft, or inaccurate meters. And then a big one is to study your municipal or county-owned property for unutilized turf. That's a great bang for the buck. 60% of culinary water is used outside. Okay, that's going to be the biggest bang. All right, so consulting. Dixon did a great job going over this. I would like to add that water conservancy districts do not have the authority to pass ordinances that affect your citizens. That's your job. One of the things I've learned from planners is there's a legislative action and an administrative action. That's all in your bailiwick, all in the municipal or county bailiwick. The other consultation is with the Division of Water Resources, and the main is the regional conservation goals. And if your community is within the Wasatch Front and you're in the Great Salt Lake watershed, what impacts are your plans and your development and your growth? How is that going to affect the Great Salt Lake? Let's talk about the regional conservation goals. If you can scan the QR code, it will lead you to this document. It's a wonderful read. Okay? 2015, we had been, it was just before that, we'd been hit with an audit, legislative audit on how we can do things better. One of the things from the audit was regional conservation goals. We had a state program called 25 by 25. So we were going to reduce the state per capita use of municipal and industrial water by 2025. Well, in 2015, of the 11 river basins, 2 of those had already met that goal. So it was kind of eye-opening that there were lots of areas that we could improve in. Some areas could improve greater than others. So the idea was the consultants that we hired took 2 years to study this, lots of public meetings, lots of surveys, it was very in-depth. So they broke the state up into these regions, and each region had a per capita water use, and then they set a goal by 2050. The map's kind of hard to read, so here's what it looks like in graph format. So find your area. 2015, you can see the baseline. What did we have your water use at? And the water use data came from water rights information that's submitted by water suppliers. So 2030, a lot of our areas are supposed to decrease by 20%. Some of them are only supposed to decrease by 11%. And then we projected out 2040, and to 2065. Some of the information within the graph, I chose a statewide graph, is the baseline scenario is right here. That's through natural attrition and appliance replacement, new construction with no new technology put in. So if you were just status quo, that's what the savings that you could expect to have. The proposed goal with recommended policies deal with smaller lot size, conservation pricing, appliance retrofit, and things like that. That's the goal line is definitely lowered. And then they included a scenario for a most aggressive, and that's if you apply all of the aggressive portions within the water conservation plan. Not the water conservation, the regional conservation goals, excuse me. And within this document, there are scenarios for every area. There are cost-benefit analysis on appliance replacement, on turf replacement, on limiting landscaping and things like that around all types of development, commercial, industrial, and all of that. It's actually a very useful document. Not a lot of people know about it. We're hoping to, well, the legislation says we're supposed to consult you on the regional conservation goals. They do give some great ideas and some great feedback on the cost-benefit analysis for certain programs. So I encourage you to scan the QR code, go have a delightful read, not while driving. Okay, the Planning Commission wants you to look at your ordinances. No. The Planning Commission is to review your ordinances and then make a recommendation. Do you have ordinances that you have to have a certain amount of green area, you have to have certain vegetation in your park strips? So they want the legislation asks the Planning Commission to actually look at that information within your own house. And then they want recommendations. What water conservation ordinances would you recommend for yours? You know, if you have an ordinance that does not promote a wise use of water, get rid of it. Landscaping options and low water use plant guidelines for new construction around commercial, common interest areas, and multifamily housing projects. Okay, we provide technical assistance because Senate Bill 76 says we have to. We are available to answer some questions. I should have put that in there. We do have examples. We can give you directions to more and better resources and our guidance on the regional conservation goals. We do review general plans. We've seen some great plans that come really close. And then the last thing is they gave us a pot of money and said, here, give it out. And so we're currently in the process of getting our grant application done. There were Senate Bill 335 that added some language to grants given out by state entities, so we have to make sure that all of our policies are in line with that. But when you only have $500,000 to give to 96 plus entities, you know, here's $50 for a pizza party. So what we did is we decided to go with a tiered structure with the smaller municipalities getting more where the need, we felt the need was. Same with counties. Water districts, providers, and canal companies can apply for this assistance as long as they are cooperating with the information to be integrated into the general plan. So there has to be a collaborative effort. We're hoping, fingers crossed, that we can get this out before July, but we will keep you posted. I want to introduce Hailey Kirlin. A lot of you have received emails from her. Well, I'm hoping a lot of you have received emails from her. She sent out an email program letting you know what was coming up and how we were available to help. Are you the right contact person to talk to? You know, that type of information. She has been integral in developing this program. Let's see. I did want, and there's actually a portion on here for communities that have, if you've completed your plan and it's been accepted and it has the parts in it, then you are eligible for funds that you would have gotten to go toward a water conservation project of your choice. Is that correct? We're nixing that part? Disregard everything I just said. All right, programs and incentives. The crown jewel in our programs and incentives was already hit upon earlier. If you missed the presentation by Chelsea and Candace and Jen, anyway, there was a presentation earlier today, and they went over the Growing Water Smart workshop, and it was fantastic. If you didn't, and you feel guilty, and you should, you can go to this QR code, and it will help you assuage your guilt. So, Growing Water Smart. This was a program that was started 2 years ago. And we did a pilot program. We were going to do 2 workshops and invite 6 to 7. It's a program that was started in Colorado that we latched onto. And so far, we've had 3 workshops, and we have a 4th one next week. Is there anyone in here who has attended a Growing Water Smart workshop? Raise your hand high. Don't be shy. All 3 of you. One of them doesn't count because she's a facilitator, so she had to be here. The beauty of the Growing Water Smart workshop is that we bring communities together as a team, and you get to work as a team to a common goal or an action plan, actually. So far, 51 communities, not counting the ones next week, 225, and we do it in a resort format, so we take you away from your area, house you, feed you. We don't pay you. We take care of the other stuff. And you work together to solve a problem to facilitate your community into Growing Water Smart. It's all about collaboration. If you notice, we are in the Hogwarts Hall here. You have presentations, you have subject matter experts, you have access to these people, and you have time, and most importantly, we put you in a door and lock it, and you can't come out until you play nice. So, it's actually been so effective that, I'll tell you that story in a second. Our partnership is that we kind of house it at Division of Water Resources, but the Center for Water Efficient Landscaping, also known as Seawell, they currently are the master facilitators, and then we have the Babbitt Center for Water and Land Policy, and then Western Resource Advocates. They all provide resources, facilitators, planning documents. At every session, applicants they do a self-assessment, which is awesome. And then the Center for Growing Water Smart, Seawell, they actually do a guidebook that has case studies specific to some of the issues that you brought up, so ways around it. How are we doing on time? We over? Done? Okay, close. QR code for Growing Water Smart. I highly recommend it. We actually received funding for 6 more workshops. Highly effective. Bear River, Box Elder County came, and they actually are working with the Bear River Water Conservancy District to implement what they learned in their master plan, and that was actually presented to the public last month. Okay, Seawell, if you have questions about water efficient landscaping, they have some great information. They're located at Utah State. Western Resource Advocates has some fantastic, and this was talked about earlier, so more guilt on you for not being there. They have examples of ordinances that have been put in place in other cities. Resources and things that Water Resources offers. This was Candace Shively did a great job on this one, so while I choke on it. We do have a weekly lawn watering guide, and then we have a low water turf guide. We have local scapes, conservation gardens, water conservation plans that we love, and regional conservation goals. Incentives, rebates, smart controller rebates, toilet replacements, and the Utah Water Savers turf replacement. We talked about the landscape initiatives and our funding, and the land and water team are the four of us up here. And for my final Scottish word of the week is dumbfungled. To be mentally or physically worn out. I'm there. Thank you so much for having us, and I think are we gonna open up to questions?
We'll close it and we'll have questions up here if you want to take them.
Okay, I'm done.